I think we're about 50, 60 people now. So we'll get started. I'll just quickly introduce myself. I'm Matthew Thompson. I'm from the Program Secretariat. We'll be joined by my colleagues Irma and Thomas during the presentation, and the other two project presenters. Just start with a little bit of housekeeping. So for this session, if you can keep your microphone muted and your camera off for now, and if you can please rename yourself in the following format. So your surname, name, and organization. You can do this by clicking on the participants icon in Zoom, and then you should be able to find your name. It should be at the top, and you'll have the option there to modify. I'll put these housekeeping rules in the chat as well. With regard to the chat, feel free to ask questions. There will be a question and answer session before we go into the separate rooms. By default, when you type a question, it will go to everyone. If you are having any issues, please select Technical Support 1 or Technical Support 2, and they'll be able to help you with any technical issues. And during the day, during this webinar, if you have any questions, please could you put the name of who you're aiming the question at. Just makes it easier to filter all the questions. So I quickly just put these into chat. Okay, that should show up. So we'll quickly go over the agenda. First, we'll do a discussion on the big presentation on how social innovation is addressing the current programming period, so 2014 to 2020. We'll then have presentations by two running projects in the current program. This will be followed by how social innovation will be covered in the new program from 2021 to 2027. There will be a Q&A session after that. It depends on the time. And then this will be followed up by breakout sessions of 2 times 25 minutes. I will pass you over now to Irma, who will discuss how social innovation is addressed in the current program.
So hello and good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining this thematic session on social innovation. So my name is Irma Botic, and I'm working for the Joint Secretariat of Interreg Northwest Europe. So I will shortly introduce you to social innovation, the topic of social innovation within our program. So maybe to start with the global context and the European level. As you might know, 9 out of 17 sustainable development goals are tackling the issue of social innovation. So amongst them, we can find poverty, so no poverty, zero hunger, decent work, education, and so on and so forth. So these goals aim to address and tackle social, economic, and global issues and help countries, governments, and societies in combating all these challenges. But besides that, on the European level, we have also other instruments and fundings that have been put in place. Recently, for instance, in January this year, the European Union has adopted the European Social Fund Plus, which replaced the previous European Social Fund. So this fund or political agreement, let's say, at the European level is the EU's main instrument for investing in people with the aim of building a more social and inclusive Europe. So the amount is set on 88 million of euros. And then 2 months later, in March this year, the European Commission adopted the European Pillar of Social Rights Action Plan. So this action plan will assist in strengthening the social dimension in the recovery from the current COVID-19 crisis and ensure that the green and digital transition for Europe is just and fair. So When it comes to social innovation in Interreg Northwest Europe in the current programming period, it is underlined under priority 1. So actions under social innovation in this programming period target excluded population or population at risk for exclusion and communities under pressure. So these actions aim, amongst other, at implementation of innovative solutions for social needs and problems. When it comes to the budget, the current Interreg Northwest Europe budget is 376 million. Out of this, we have dedicated 128.3 million to innovation projects. So when I talk about innovation projects, I mean also innovation in, for instance, health, innovation in manufacturing, innovation in blockchain, and so on and so forth. So 14.3 million out of these 128.3 are dedicated to social innovation projects. So I would say more or less 4% of the whole ERDF and the whole budget, of course. If we dive deeper into the topic, we can see that 6 projects have been or are currently financed under the social innovation priority. And these 6 projects are tackling different, let's say, topics. First one is related to recognized refugees. Then we have support to social enterprises, affordable housing, and the youth unemployment. If we go deeper into the division of the budget amongst these 4 thematics, we can say that 1.2 million are dedicated to recognized refugees, 2.5 million are dedicated to support social enterprises, 2.2 are related to affordable housing, and the biggest part of this budget is dedicated to youth unemployment. When it comes to the partnership, 7 countries, well, all the area is covered. So we have 51 partners coming from all the 7 countries. Most of them are coming from the France and the United Kingdom, but other countries are not lagging behind. So the Netherlands, Belgium, Germany, and so on and so forth. Just to give you maybe a short example of a successful social innovation project, which is called SHIC, so Sustainable Housing for Inclusive and Cohesive Cities. They are tackling the issue of community land trusts, which is not equally developed on the, well, in this area, let's say. So the result of this project so far is that we are having 66 urban community trust 66 urban community land trusts, which are managing 250 homes and housing 750 people of low and moderate income households. Moreover, maybe to stress or to emphasize is that this project won last year the Regio Stars Award that is granted by the European Commission under the category 4 Citizens Engagement for Cohesive European Cities. So this was maybe just a short introduction into the project. And now I think we will remain on the same path with some other projects that are financed under this priority. And yes, I will pass the floor back to you, Matthew, to maybe continue with the short introduction. Thank you.
We'll now have 2 presentations. One is a project Emma has already mentioned, Imagine. It's presented by Corinne and Sabrina. This is a project that she's financed under Interreg Northwest Europe. And then there will be followed by Hauke, who will talk about social Interreg.eu, which is sort of a group, I think it's a grouping for Interreg projects. So I will pass the floor to Imagine.
Hello, everyone. I'll just start sharing my screen. Okay, so I hope you'll see the screen. So let me introduce you to the Imagine project. So this project aims at fighting youth unemployment and supporting sustainable professional integration of low skill needs, so not in education, employment, or training 18 to 34-year-olds who are coming from densely populated core areas of Northwestern Europe. One of the main problems or challenges our project is trying to solve is youth unemployment. We want to tackle this by supporting sustainable professional integration of low-skill needs and by providing sustainable job prospects in the horticulture sector. In the Northwest Europe territories that are involved in this project, the market gardening, agriculture, and short food circuit sector are growing and require labor. Sometimes with little initial qualification, but only offer employment to 20% of the young people who have been trained in the field. Thanks to the Imagine project, local organization can help to overcome these shortcomings by involving young people through an innovative co-production methodology and by facilitating access to domain land for free. The ratio of needs in Northwest Europe is quite high. At the same time, job opportunities exist for low-skilled people, as there is a growing trend for horticulture and short food supply chains in peri-urban areas of Northwest Europe. Since 2012, the number of entrepreneurs in this sector has increased by 500% in France and Belgium. Moreover, in horticulture, the ratio of jobs per surface unit is 10 to 20 times higher than in traditional agriculture. So it shows that horticulture is a promising sector. Moreover, 5 times more people follow the training in horticulture compared to 2012. However, as I said before, job entry rate after training in this sector is currently only 20%. So the goal of the project is to fight youth unemployment and to support sustainable professional integration of low-skill needs coming from densely populated core areas of Northwestern Europe in the horticulture job market. It is done thanks to a co-production methodology that empowers needs. It is also done by testing this methodology in 3 different incubation models and by developing replication tools for local stakeholders. The project also aims at creating 150 new jobs in all economic sectors and inserting 300 end users who could benefit from social innovation. So now I will show you a video on the progress of the project. Okay, so I'm sharing the audio as now.
Yes. Le projet Imagine, c'est un projet Interreg Nord-Ouest Europe qui vise à lutter contre le chômage des jeunes en leur fournissant des perspectives d'emploi durables dans le domaine du maraîchage urbain et périurbain. Le BEP est chef de file de ce projet au niveau européen, projet qui mobilise des partenaires donc, en Angleterre, en France, au Luxembourg et aussi aux Pays-Bas. Chacun des partenaires met en place des formations innovantes dans le domaine du maraîchage ou de la fruticulture. Et donc actuellement, c'est 6 jeunes qui se forment sur le terrain d'une dizaine de producteurs de paysans artisans, mais également ici à Écolis, sur le parc d'activité Écolis, où des terrains entre les entreprises, des terrains inoccupés, des zones tampons ont été mis à disposition de paysans artisans pour une exploitation fruitière.
Mon rôle de coach avec les stagiaires, il commence dès le début, donc j'écoute les raisons pour lesquelles ils veulent retravailler dans le maraîchage, s'ils ont déjà eu de l'expérience, et je suis vraiment le point de connexion entre les partenaires Imagine, dont le CPS, le Forum et le BEP, et les producteurs paysans artisans chez qui ils seront accueillis.
Ça, commencer. Tu peux en couper celles qui viennent vers toi. On va essayer de garder un équilibre dans la hauteur.
Donc les stagiaires vont chez 2 producteurs par semaine. Donc ils ont un mi-temps chez un producteur, un mi-temps chez un autre producteur. Donc le lundi, mardi, ils vont faire du maraîchage, par exemple. Et le mercredi, jeudi, ils seront peut-être ici justement en fruticulture. Un vendredi sur 2, il y a formation collective. L'ensemble des stagiaires sont regroupés sur des thèmes très différents.
On peut la couper dans la longueur vers un bouton qui va vers la gauche.
Ce que j'attends de cette formation pour mon futur, c'est du coup d'avoir des bonnes bases de m'y connaître beaucoup plus, de me connaître beaucoup plus aussi, et simplement de pouvoir soit être engagée quelque part ou créer mon propre jardin, avoir mon propre terrain, peut-être ma propre épicerie, quelque chose du style, et peut-être faire de la sensibilisation aussi pour arrêter tout ce qui est pesticides et se concentrer sur le bio.
En fait, tous les 2 mois, on change de producteur, donc ce qui nous permet de toucher à tout ce qui est maraîchage pur et dur ou tout ce qui est fruticulture, où je suis aussi passé en bocalerie. C'est seulement maintenant en fin de formation où je commence à avoir plein d'idées qui fusent. Donc j'aimerais bien, moi, en fait, continuer à travailler pour Paysans Artisans un petit moment, le temps de pouvoir me lancer moi-même en tant qu'indépendant. Pourquoi pas avec un jardin d'aromatiques et de plantes médicinales.
The results we've got in the Imagine project are a co-production manual. It's something coming from the UK because the Surrey County Council is the partner that already has got this competence, and the goal of this co-production manual, it means delivering incubation models in an equal and reciprocal relationship, and the change is far more effective. We also have got 6 pilot tests with 3 incubator models, the social governance one with the UK and France, the Régie de Cartier-Vaugirard in Paris. A second one is the social land management with Belgium and Moussy Le Neuf in France. And the third one is social enterprise with Luxembourg and the Netherlands. And these 6 pilot tests have the same goal, to work on the testing and evolution of these pilots within the Imagine project. We also have got one intranet, and of course we organize regional workshops in which we exchange about ideas, experience, the way we recruit needs, the difficulties we face, and so on. And one other result is also the communication material, because it's very, very important to recruit the needs, for example, or to exchange with local authorities or with partners or other regions, just to disseminate the way we work. And of course, one but not the least result we've got is the work we do with needs, just to help them tackling unemployment. Results to be achieved at the end of the project are the following ones: 6 pilots that have tested incubation facilities, 300 needs with sustainability, reinforced employability, and among these 300 needs, 150 to get that they get a job. Also, what we have is the raised interest of Northwest Europe local authorities, and of course also 30 local authority members who are member of this network. Regarding calorie results, sometimes you make things and you get results you didn't have expected, like, for example, new links between agriculture and social innovation. Because what we see is that in agriculture and market gardening, usually people are very independent, but here the producer take pleasure in coaching and transmitting, even if the production capacity of the needs is less high. And pushing results one step further, the fact is that at long term, we would like to integrate Imagine in a transnational network and help other people to adopt Imagine step by step in their mechanism. The fact is that, of course, we've got challenges, like to help implementing a co-production model, because it takes time, it's not very easy to, and to increase the global knowledge about the model. What we also have as a challenge is to help needs to be more resilient, and to, of course, integrate all the forcing activities we had during the COVID time within the next few months. But all this isn't possible without partnerships. And in fact, we've got 8 partners, BEP, the BEP and Forum for Belgium, PALM, Moussy and Régie de Cartier for France, and LTE for Luxembourg, and Food Farm for the Netherlands. The fact is that all these partners have varied strengths. For example, in UK, the crop production model, and the Netherlands, aquaponics, and so on. But what we, one force of the partnership is the fact that we can help each other, and that we have varied approaches concerning the needs, because even the needs are different from a partner to another one. With autists, sometimes youth, people who face difficulties with youth justice system or with a disability. What we get is a joint methodology that goes beyond what we could have done alone. And so with to end this presentation with three pictures. The first one is at your right, young people working in a greenhouse. In the middle, you see also people who learn how to prune fruit trees in an orchard they planted before. And at your left, you see needs who cook vegetable, they cultivate, because so you see they don't only learn how to market garden, but they also learn how to better and healthier eat. So I hope you enjoyed knowing more about Imagine Project. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you both for that presentation. We will now move on to our second presentation. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. So we will have Hauke, who will be talking about social Interreg NWE.
Well, thank you for inviting me to this very interesting event. I myself, my name is Hauke Siemen. I am from Hamburg, managing partner of REM Consult. We are a consultancy focused on EU project development and management. And I'm myself not representing a Northwest Europe project today, but as Matthew has said, a project that connected different Interreg projects that were working on the topic of social innovation. Myself, I have been a project manager of two projects in the Baltic Sea region called SEMPRE and SEMPRE Accelerators. And these projects focused on co-creation of social services and empowerment of marginalized groups in rural areas. And from these two projects, SEMPRE and SEMPRE Accelerators, we have developed the Social Interreg initiative because we felt that social innovation needed a lobby. It seemed to be always secondary to technological innovation, at least in the Baltic Sea region program. And the second reason was that we felt there was no platform for exchange between projects on social innovation, at least in the Baltic Sea region, but also beyond, between different Interreg funding programs. So that's why we started the Social Interreg initiatives. And we looked for and contacted projects that dealt with social innovation and brought them together in several workshops and larger conference, and conducted also a survey to discuss the relationship between Interreg and social innovation with them. And one of the main aims of this initiative was to highlight the achievements of the projects on social innovation in the funding period 2014 to 2020. And we created a kind of virtual showcase of the social innovation projects that you will find on this URL, socialinterreg.eu. And here you can have a look at a lot of different projects that have worked in the field of social innovation and look at their results. You can also use this as inspiration for new projects, maybe in the Northwest Europe program in the coming funding period. And also, if those of you who have already implemented a project on social innovation, please feel free to join this virtual showcase. Let me know after the presentation, because we have so far only one Northwest Europe project represented in this database. Well, I'm talking about social innovation, but what is social innovation in our understanding? What you see here is different topics of Interreg projects on social innovation in the past 7 years in the past funding period. And you see that it's a broad range, starting on the left-hand side with projects focusing on individuals from particular groups, for example, older people, or as we have heard in the Imagine project, vulnerable youth. And that can be by a product or a service or specific support measures. And if you go further to the right-hand side, you see the more strategic topics of projects like social innovation policy framework or financing mechanisms for social innovation or social entrepreneurship. So it is a very broad concept, and you see it brings a lot of benefits to the regions, but it's also a little bit difficult to grasp. So how do we define it? What is the concept behind it? We found that the common characteristics of the projects that we worked with was that they had a kind of social objective. They addressed a social or societal need, like, for example, fighting social exclusion, specific situation of vulnerable groups, or improving public services. The second element was that there was an innovative component, so some kind of novel approach or solution that was tested. Could be a product, can be a service, also a process innovation or organizational innovation. And the third one was that many of the project used collaborative approaches that included the beneficiaries in the development of the innovation, so by participatory approaches, empowering approaches, and so on. And if we put that together, it's summed up well in a definition provided by the Young Foundation of social innovation, stating that social innovations are innovations that are social both in their ends and in their means, meaning that it's not only following a social objective, but also, as I said, the way this innovation is generated is an inclusive one, and beneficiaries are included in the process. Another aim of our project was to look at the relationship between social innovation and Interreg. Why do they need each other? Is social innovation not a topic that can be left to the European Social Fund? Well, our answer from these projects was no. There are various benefits of working with social innovation in the framework of Interreg, of transnational cooperation. And I would even argue that Interreg needs social innovation, and social innovation also needs Interreg. Looking at the first part of that question, why does Interreg need social innovation? Or in other words, how can social innovation help pursue the Interreg objectives of making regions more prosperous, more attractive places to live in, and strengthening territorial cohesion? Well, first of all, social innovation projects can inspire change in the public sector and provide better and/or cost-saving solutions for delivery of public services. Public authorities are, of course, the main target group traditionally of Interreg, and they have a very important role in social innovation as providers of social services themselves that they could improve or make more cost efficient. They can also create demand for social innovation, for example, via public procurement, and they can set the framework conditions, as I said, with, for example, social innovation policies and strategies. Another thing that social innovation projects can do is to help make territorial and social imbalances visible and overcoming them. We heard about that already today, also with the urban-rural divide and similar issues. The project can stimulate inclusive economic development by creating employment or self-employment opportunities for marginalized groups, as we heard in Imagine, but also assist the creation of new social business ideas, social entrepreneurship. And both of these ways help to create jobs in the region. But also social innovation projects can make regions more attractive places to live and work in for different groups. So they can improve, for example, accessibility of public services for vulnerable groups. We have worked in SEMPRE, for example, with single parents, which is an often forgotten vulnerable group, which has many difficulties reaching public services, for example, but also combating brain drain and keeping qualified people in the region is a thing that these projects can do. And finally, they broaden the range of actors and lower the threshold for participation in transnational cooperation. In our projects, we had a lot of what I call unusual suspects in EU cooperation. So not the ones that you see in all the Interreg projects, but smaller NGOs and organizations that otherwise would not be involved in transnational cooperation. On the other side, we also asked the projects, how important was it for you to work in transnational cooperation? So why does social innovation projects, why do they need Interreg as a funding? And one of the issues we found that transnational cooperation can help public authorities develop and benchmark social innovation strategies. Many regions are setting up such strategies right now or revising them, and they can look at funding schemes and overall improve the social innovation ecosystem by exchanging with other regions. They can find new solutions to common societal challenges. We have seen that very much in the Baltic Sea region with new and old member states, which have very different socioeconomic circumstances. But I think even in the Northwest Europe area, you find very different regions with similar challenges, but different socioeconomic conditions. Transnational cooperation makes it also possible to test new and unproven approaches. So it can be a field of experimentation and out-of-the-box ideas that you would not be able to try out in another setting. Also by creating a critical mass. So if the knowledge and expertise on social innovation is there, but it's widely scattered, widely spread around the region, then these projects can help to bring know-how, creativity, and financing together that are needed to implement social innovation. And finally, it can also be a stimulus for organizational learning and the rethinking of working methods. And I think this is very important that organizations look at themselves and try to also see if they can change throughout this process. So in many ways, we feel that social innovation projects have delivered in the previous funding period, and this is also informing how social innovation is being dealt with in the new funding period. I understand we will hear a little bit about that regarding the Northwest Europe program in a minute. But overall, looking at the different Interreg programs, it seems that social innovation is a topic just as much, if not more, as previously. If you see a change, then it is maybe that social innovation becomes more a means than an end. So it's not only about reaching social objectives like fighting social exclusion, bringing youth into employment, but also reaching other objectives with relation to the Green Deal objectives, for example, in the fields of climate change, circular economy, mobility, and so on. And then you see that territorial cohesion and just transformation still remain important topics. This is also signified by the revised territory agenda. And COVID-19 seems to have effects on programming. For example, a strong focus on resilience throughout all the Interreg programs. Even though we realize that the programming is far advanced and we cannot influence it very much, we still wanted to give some recommendations for programs. These regard the implementation of the program. We think it's important to lower the threshold for participation, especially for smaller NGOs. Pre and co-financing for them is very difficult, but we also think it's good to allow smaller projects and even kind of micro projects. Then this is very important, I think. Programs should allow and accept open processes with uncertain results. So you cannot tell 3 years in advance what the result of a social innovation process will be. It is by design, by definition, an open process. So programs should be flexible and also accept the results that deviate from original plans. And reuse qualitative evaluation for not only indicators for evaluating the projects. And another recommendation is to allow for more exchange between projects and program areas, and Social Interreg NWE can continue to be a platform for that. We can offer that for sure. And in fact, 1 week from today, we will have a final workshop of this little project. And if you go to the Social Interreg EU website, you can find the registration form for that if you're interested. The future of social innovation in Interreg in the next funding period. On the other hand, we also have some recommendations for the projects. So if you want to implement a social innovation project in the new funding period, what can you learn from the previous projects? Well, first of all, this seems contradictory. Be more and less ambitious at the same time. What does that mean? On the one hand, don't make the projects too complex. Don't try to reach too many outputs and results. Just focus on some key issues, and in these key issues, try to achieve great results. I think those were the most successful projects that have really focused on some key issues. Then work cross-sectorally, and that means bringing together the established welfare sector together with the public sector and also the innovative, dynamic social entrepreneurship scene. I think these three sectors are not working enough together so far. And also combining social themes with the green themes. So don't work only with people in the social sector, but look beyond. And bring about organizational change. Don't always try to change others, but also look at your own organizations. Don't forget your colleagues as a target group, and start with your own organizations when you think about organizational change and innovative processes. That's it from my side, and I'm very much open to questions.
Okay, thank you very much. There'll be, depending on the time, because time is a bit tight, there'll be option for a Q&A session after Thomas's presentation. So we've had the current program, projects in social innovation from the current programming period, but now Thomas will be talking about the future.
Welcome everyone, good morning. I am Thomas, the contact point for Wallonia, and I will present you here the main features of the new Interreg Northwest Europe program regarding social innovation. First of all, let me briefly remind you about the new program area. As it was mentioned earlier, the UK will not be part of the new program, and we have new regions coming in from Netherlands, 3 provinces, and from Germany, 3 administrative units. So this is the new program area. A small recap about the provisional planning. What you should know here is that we would launch the first call for projects in spring 2022, and this remains to be confirmed. And please pay attention to the disclaimer. It was also mentioned during the plenary. The discussions are still ongoing and have not yet been the subject of an agreement between member states to insert what follows in the new program. So please consider it cautiously. Here are the 5 priorities drafted for the future program. And the one related to social innovation would be priority 5, a just and inclusive Northwest Europe. This priority is linked to the policy objective number 4 from the ERDF regulation proposal, which is called a more social and inclusive Europe, implementing the European Pillar of Social Rights that my colleague Irma mentioned earlier. And within this priority, the future program would focus on 3 specific objectives that you can see on the screen. And basically this priority would aim at improving Northwest Europe communities' capacities, skills, and well-being by providing public services and the right condition to reinforce quality employment, access to health and care, and the potential of tourism and culture. If we look at the territorial analysis linked to these topics, we could draw 2 main conclusions. The first one is that there remain some imbalances between and within countries on these aspects, be it in terms of labor market disparities, access to healthcare, and the competitive advantages for specific areas regarding tourism and culture, for example. And the second conclusion is the impacts of the pandemic, which has had important effects, economic effects in all our countries, but specifically for vulnerable people and areas. The COVID-19 crisis has also shown the lack of resilience of healthcare systems, but also some interdependencies between neighboring countries on these aspects. And of course, it has severely affected some sectors such as tourism and culture. When we surveyed earlier stakeholders about the added value of cooperation in relation to this priority, the most common answers were that cooperation would be the good place to develop and test common tools and solutions in vulnerable and different contexts. It could also help tackle common societal challenges, and it could encourage the exchange of good practices, knowledge, and ideas. Finally, future cooperation projects in the next Northwest Europe program would be implemented in at least one of the following categories of activities. First one is the elaboration and implementation of joint strategies and action plans. The second one is pilot actions for testing tools and solutions taken up or upscaled. And the third one is capacity building and awareness raising activities in the related fields. Please bear in mind that what we presented here are at the moment what is the outcome of the program first discussion. Some elements might change, evolve, or be fine-tuned before being included in the final Interreg program. Thank you very much for your attention. We hope to see you be part of the next program. Thank you very much. Take care.
So we do still have a little bit of time for some question and answers. So first, with regard to the Imagine project, something that has come up in the past, when we looked at projects. for Imagine, is it possible for the NEETs to meet NEETs from other countries in Northwest Europe?
Maybe I can answer. Yes, of course, it's possible. It's something we foresee in the project, but just the fact is that up to now it was not possible because of the COVID. But yeah, the goal is for them just to make links with other needs in other countries, to exchange best practices, ideas about the way they work, because some of them work in the market gardening, some other with fruits. And so it would be very positive for them to exchange about their own experience and the way they work now instead of before.
Thank you. And then for Social Europe, so for Hauke, and again, something that's come up in my life in Interreg is micro projects. So what do the micro projects involved, and are they a good approach?
Yeah, so I mentioned micro projects. I think in the new Interreg programs, there will be more possibility for smaller projects. So with smaller budgets, maybe simplified application procedures. But we think even smaller projects, and we call those micro projects in Sempre, are a good way. We supported co-design, co-creation initiatives at the local level with actual members of vulnerable groups being involved in that, and supported them from our Interreg project. Unfortunately, we were not allowed to give them any startup financing for their initiatives, but we helped them with consultations, with trainings and things like that, and try to help them become successful social startups. And I think it would be great if Interreg programs could improve the opportunities for projects to do that, to support third-party initiatives and work directly with marginalized groups to do such kind of smaller projects or micro projects.
Thank you. Oh, we do have a question. I think maybe this is about the future, so I will aim it at Thomas or Irma. So from Frederic, from La Région Hauts-de-France, tourism and culture are mentioned, but projects dealing with social inclusion through waste management activities, are they eligible? So I don't know what Thomas or Irma. It's interesting you mentioned waste management because we do have a resource recovery priority in the new program, but this is dealing from a social innovation point. So
yeah, I would answer also cautiously. Here we presented the priority 5, which is most naturally linked to social innovation. But of course, as Hauke mentioned earlier, social innovation projects are social in both their ends and their means, which means that we could find social innovation projects in other priorities of the next program. And as Matthew said, maybe projects on waste management could find a place in priority 3 in case it will be approved by the member states. But yeah, it's possible also to link your project within other priorities, the priority 5, of course.
I think one thing that has come up in the current programming period is that you need to have a clear focus. So if the focus is social innovation, then it's a social innovation project. If it's waste management with social innovation elements, then maybe it's a waste management. It's about having a very clear objective, and that goes for any project. Okay, it looks like everyone's back. I think all the rooms are now closed. So I just quickly wrap up this webinar. First, the presentations and the video will be made available. I think it'll be on our website. You'll receive an email about this, so that will be coming. First, I'd just like to thank the presenters today, the hosts of the breakout rooms as well, and the technical support, and obviously all of you for coming. I hope you found it useful. A program is nothing without projects, and projects are nothing without people and ideas. And so as we move this program forward, I hope we can all see you in the future. You can check on our website for the latest publication on Northwest Europe Making an Impact. So that's just available. You can see that there. Yes, again, thank you for taking part, and please stay connected. You can check our website, northwesteurope.eu, sorry, nweurope.eu, and follow us on social media, on Twitter, we're on LinkedIn, and we have a YouTube page. And we look forward to seeing and working with you in the future. Thanks.